What are the chances of a stable marriage for people with serious trust issues? After all, the foundation of marriage is trust and mutual respect. Accusing a spouse of infidelity without solid evidence is wrong, but the situation becomes more complicated when a third party comes forward. Tim Chase sat quietly at the bar, waiting for the sandwiches he had ordered for himself and his friend, business partner Will Davis. Will was busy on the phone in their truck, leaving Tim alone with the task of picking up lunch. Although this upscale establishment rarely offered takeout, the quality of the food kept Tim coming back again and again. Pondering his plans for the day, Tim heard a familiar laugh. Giving in to curiosity, he stood up and took a few steps to get a better view of the dining area. His heart sank when he saw who was sitting in a secluded corner. It was his sister-in-law Dana and Matt Eason. Their behavior was far too intimate for two married people not in the company of their spouses. Tim felt a wave of disgust when he saw Matt touch Dana's shoulder and then run his hand down her blouse. Unable to contain his emotions, Tim pulled out his phone to do something about it. He decided that he couldn't hide such an important discovery from Dana's husband, who was in the truck at that moment. He saw a call from Mandy, his wife. Tim knew her disappointment in his sister would be deep, but the conviction that the truth was more important remained unshaken. As he began dialing Will's number, his doubts only intensified. At that moment, Mandy came out of the restroom and joined Dana and Matt at their table. What was particularly outrageous was the way Matt placed his hand on Dana's without hesitation. Surprisingly, Mandy showed no excitement over this provocative scene. The moment Will answered the phone, Tim struggled to find the words. His mind was full of disturbing scenarios. He remained silent until Will demanded to know the reason for the call. "There's something going on here that you need to see," Tim said before hanging up. Less than 30 seconds later, Will entered the room and met Tim with a questioning look. Tim simply nodded toward the dining room. Will cast a quick glance toward the dining room before turning to Tim again. Confusion was reflected on his face. Both men heard Dana's laughter from the dining room. Will quickly averted his head, looking around the room carefully again. When his gaze finally settled on Dana, his face reflected bewilderment. He took a quick step toward the dining area. Tim, still holding the phone, hurried after his friend. Will had entered the restaurant a few minutes ago and, despite his seething anger, moved with surprising stealth. He approached Matt Larson before anyone at the table realized that Dana's husband was present. With considerable force, Will's fist hit right in the center of Matt's smug grin. The blow sent Matt reeling backward, the chair beneath him breaking as he fell to the tile floor. Matt casually grabbed Dana's arm. Looking at Matt, who was semi-conscious, Will's face contorted. "Damn you, Matt Larson. If I ever see you again, I'm sending you to the hospital. You worthless piece of shit," he declared. "What are you doing here?" Dana asked in confusion. "It's not what it seems. It just seems to be a friend," she said. "And you claim all that laughter was just for lunch. But does he always have to touch you during lunch?" Will asked. Dana, looking at her exposed bust, hastily adjusted her bra. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "It was an accident. Matt was just trying to stay on his feet so he wouldn't fall backwards. Nothing happened." "Your reaction was unwarranted," she defended herself. "I never realized how often and easily you cheat," Will parried before turning to Tim. "You saw Matt grab Dana's breasts, didn't you, Tim?" "Yes, I saw it and even recorded it," Tim replied as he continued filming. "I'll send you a copy as soon as this scandal is over." "Tim, you wouldn't do something like that," Mandy interjected, finally speaking up. "You shouldn't interfere in Dana's personal matters that she needs to deal with on her own. Your meddling will only complicate things. Delete that video." "I'm glad I'm still recording it," Tim grumbled. "You say you and Dana went Christmas shopping and now you're here, 100 miles from home, helping your sister pick up some worthless guy and claiming my behavior is inadequate. It's impossible to believe in this situation. I'm watching this live and I'm still having a hard time coming to my senses, so my video will be crucial. I may forget some of the details of this outrage, but the video will serve as a helpful reminder." "Did you just call me a promiscuous woman?" Dana practically spat out. "Your Will, not a happy accident, knocked you down. Your insults won't be forgotten. Damn it," she continued. "Looks like you've already forgotten about your lover," Tim parried, pointing to a figure wriggling on the floor. "He's trying to get up. He's got a lot of wounds on him. It looks like he needs help. Will, let's get something to eat and get out of here while we can." If any of them try to turn the story against us, I have video evidence to clear things up, he stated as he prepared to leave. Tim, I didn't do anything wrong. You have no reason to be mad at me. You need to stay and help us take care of Matt. He needs medical attention, Mandy said. It looks like his nose is broken. I'd put money on it, Will said, watching Tim. Tim grinned, remembering how his fist connected with the idiot's face. I wouldn't help Larson even if he was in trouble. You two ruined our marriages and who knows what else. I still remember my father's wise words. Let me guess, he put in, once something is broken, it can't be fixed. Let's grab some lunch and some beer, Tim replied, gesturing in the air at the quotes as they left the room. Tim looked around once more. Dana and Mandy were helping Matt find a chair while their waitress watched wide-eyed. Tim picked up their lunch order and then stopped at a gas station to buy a case of beer. With beer in hand, he drove to a budget motel and checked in the entire time, intending to remain completely silent. Noticing Tim's truck missing from the driveway when she got home, Mandy found her 17-year-old son Trent playing a video game. Has your dad contacted you? Mandy asked, trying to keep her tone neutral. Yeah, he called me the other day, replied Trent. Mandy began to explain the situation, typical of divorcing parents. You both still care about Beth and me, but you can't continue to live together. You and Aunt Dana are being dishonest and disrespectful to your father, he said. Tim told me about your divorce. He was serious, even though he seemed a little drunk to me. But he seemed really serious, Trent continued. You said at breakfast that you went shopping with Aunt Dana, but you actually went up north to David's with Matt. Dad mentioned that Larson was too close to Aunt Dana when he and Uncle found you at the restaurant. He went unnoticed until he punched Larson in the nose. It would be interesting to see that. Oh, Dad said he'd send me the video later. I'll watch it, Trent added. I clearly told your father that I didn't want that video shown. In fact, I insisted that it be deleted. Mandy was very angry. To be fair to your father, you said you went shopping. He took your word at face value. But now, knowing your slippery relationship to the truth, he might question whether you really meant to delete the video. How can he trust what you say? He said. I don't need your sarcastic remarks, Mandy objected. I lied a little so I wouldn't hurt anyone. Other than that, I always tell the truth. You know Aunt Dana was involved with Larson, Trent put in. Who says she was involved with Larson? They're just friends, Mandy insisted. I don't understand how you two can stay married. I'm surprised you've lasted this long, Trent pressed. You're accusing me of lying, Mandy challenged Trent, though he answered implicitly. But Dad said that Dana admitted to her uncle that she'd been with Larson a few times, and you helped cover it up. Why didn't she warn me that she'd revealed all the secrets to Will? I tried to cover for her, Mandy observed dryly. Dad said I'm staying here with you until I leave for college in the fall. Beth isn't thrilled, but she's young. She'll come around, Trent continued. So your father already has it all planned out. He made those decisions half drunk and didn't consult me, Mandy said. Mandy was sure she could convince Tim that she was only trying to help her sister. I never betrayed Tim and I never will. It was all just a misunderstanding. The truth is, even after Dana confessed, I continued to lie to protect her, she admitted. Tim, a man known for his honesty and fairness, often expressed his disdain for liars and the harm they cause. Trent shared his father's distaste for dishonesty. He quickly severed his relationship with a girl who lied about her dates despite her pleas for forgiveness. Now Tim spoke of the divorce with a seriousness conveyed by Trent. Mandy wondered how a minor mistake could have escalated so dramatically. She doubted Tim's toughness, knowing that he would do anything to make her think he would even lie to save the marriage. She struggled to understand why helping her sister was seen as something wrong. What was she supposed to do when Dana turned to her for help? The more Mandy dwelled on it, the more determined she became, claiming she had committed no wrongdoing. Or at least she hadn't done anything that Tim could condemn her for. After all, he wasn't without sin himself. Mandy decided to make dinner for herself and her children. If Tim came home and wanted to eat, he would have to take care of himself. She was determined to weather the storm and even make Tim apologize for his behavior. As Mandy was putting the food on the table, Beth entered the kitchen, clearly displeased. I could have just told the judge I wanted to live with Daddy, Beth declared. You and Aunt Dana, you didn't think of the consequences. Mom, Will is a great guy. He and Dad are best friends. I don't understand how you could do this. I wasn't caught cheating on your father, Mandy objected. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I couldn't have betrayed Tim by telling him about Dana. He would have informed Will as soon as he found out. Interesting choice of words, Mom. You said you weren't caught cheating on Dad, but you didn't say you never cheated. Just that you've never been caught, Beth observed. I never betrayed Tim, Mandy parried angrily. All I did was protect Dana a few times. She's my sister, and I'll always support her. Family ties are strong. Do you really think helping Aunt Dana and cheating on Uncle Will are the same thing? You helped her cheat. How did that turn out for both of them? Now Daddy and Uncle will see that you are both dishonest, and at least one of you is unfaithful. Since you've shown that you're willing to cheat, how can Daddy believe that you haven't betrayed him? Beth asked, clearly incredulous. Tim knows I would never cheat. He and I have never lied about anything except the Dana case. He'd do the same thing. Maybe he's already done it. Who knows? Tim can't act morally superior to me, Mandy argued. For all we know, both your father and uncle could have been involved in similar matters. Beth expressed disbelief, shaking her head slowly. You're completely out of your mind, Beth argued. We're sure Papa and Uncle were never dishonest. They never cheated or missiled anyone. I'd bet my life that Daddy never cheated on you. But unfortunately, I wouldn't risk my life for your loyalty. Now Mandy was surprised. You think I would betray your father just because I was trying to protect my sister? You're assuming I'm a liar. Mom, what I'm saying is that I don't have the same level of confidence in your loyalty as I do in Dad's. I didn't feel that way before, when you said you were going to the outlets with Aunt Dana, but today your credibility has suffered, Beth continued. Before Mandy could respond, her cell phone interrupted the conversation with a call from Dana. This is Dana, I need to take this, but we'll continue this conversation later. Hi Dana, I'm listening to you, Mandy said. You were frank about everything and left me in the dark. I was still denying your affair when Trent informed me that you had already confessed. Sis, I've been making a lot of bad choices lately, she continued. I don't understand why you didn't intervene when you found out about me and Matt. It would have been hard to hear, but it could have saved me from the mess I'm dealing with right now, Dana said. Wait a minute, Mandy objected. You practically begged me to help you keep your novel under wraps. I was just trying to keep an eye on you and keep you from getting hurt. Well, you didn't do a very good job, Dana shot back. You should have put a stop to it as soon as you found out. Wait, are you saying he forgave you? He's taking you back, Mandy asked. Yeah, you're not going to believe this. I called Will and told him the whole truth. You know how Will and Tim feel about honesty. I thought he was going to leave me, but I knew my only chance was to be completely honest and truly sorry, Dana said. Will mentioned that he discussed loyalty, honesty, forgiveness, and partnership with Tim. He reminded Tim that we are not only spouses, but partners, she added. I can't believe he could forgive you just because of a few cliches, Mandy remarked. There must be more to it than that, she thought. Will shared a story with me when they went to Harrisburg together 2 years ago, Dana continued. That's when he met a woman he really liked while Tim was busy checking equipment. He struck up a conversation with a young attractive woman at the bar. Will texted Tim, advising him to stay away from their room for a couple hours, Dana recounted. According to Will, when he settled the bar tab, Tim was furious, angrier than Dana had ever seen him. Tim insisted that Will would have to fight and defeat him before he would let that woman into his room. He even threatened to expose Will as a fraud in front of me, our children, our parents, and anyone else who might care, Dana said. I had no idea about it. Tim never mentioned a word of it, Mandy admitted. That's because my stupid husband saw reason. After all, he had been furious with Tim for days, Dana continued. The ride home was tense. They didn't exchange a word, but they seemed to work things out. They still act like brothers, Dana explained. Gradually, he realized that Tim had done him a great favor by not allowing him to potentially ruin his marriage. Will admitted that he felt ashamed and unworthy of Tim's friendship, even offering to dissolve their partnership if Tim no longer wanted to work with him. Do you know what your husband said to Will? Dana asked. He said he'd rather sacrifice their friendship than witness it hurting you and the kids. Tim made it clear that he understood the destructive nature of cheating, she explained. That's pretty hard, Dana observed. Mandy, doesn't that make your cheating even worse? One would think so, Dana replied, but fortunately, Will seems more lenient. He pointed out that I don't have as strong a support system as he does. That was the crucial difference. Mandy didn't know how to respond to Dana's remark. She had kept her sister's affair a secret, even resorting to lying to her family to protect Dana. But now Dana assumed that Tim was the best friend because he wouldn't tolerate the behavior that Mandy had allowed with Dana. Mandy asked, trying to divert the conversation a little, "I'm curious, can Tim come over soon?" Dana mentioned that Tim had been drinking quite a bit. They'd had to ask the clerk at the rundown motel to go get another case of beer after finishing the first one. At least, they were responsible enough not to drive. They stopped at the motel instead of going home, Mandy explained. Tim seems to be upset about all this as well. I should talk to him and clear things up, Mandy stated. Dana replied, "Good luck." She relayed Will's message that Tim was even more upset than he was. Tim never expected to be tricked to his face. Now doubts are hanging over your fidelity and commitment to the marriage, Dana continued. That's absurd. You know I never betrayed Tim. I even warned you not to get involved with Matt. I was only trying to protect you and keep Will from discovering you and divorcing you, Mandy objected. Turns out that had the opposite effect, Dana replied. It's clear now that I was stupid and you weren't much better. You should have confronted me and threatened to expose my infidelity, which could have stopped my reckless behavior. Instead, you facilitated my deception, which did me no good. I can hardly believe what I just heard, Mandy said. Tim and Will caught us at a restaurant where you were sitting next to your lover, letting me put my hand on your breast. Tim was very angry with me. Will forgave you, but Tim is still angry and talking about divorce because I lied to cover for you. And now you're saying I shouldn't have even tried to help you keep your secret. I'm not as good a friend as Tim. That's pretty accurate, the sister said. You know Tim's character, but you jeopardized your marriage by trying to help me change mine. You must have known Tim would be furious when he found out. Mandy was silent as she pondered her situation. How could I have been so stupid? She wondered. One thing that had always been a constant in her world was Tim's devotion to his family. Of course, he'd be angry when he discovered she lied to him. It wasn't a surprise. He had never given her any reason to believe that he would tolerate or forgive her for lying. Mandy had come to realize that one of her greatest accomplishments in life was the level of trust and confidence she and her husband shared. It was the cornerstone of what she believed a marriage should be. However, she recognized that she had foolishly jeopardized that foundation with her actions. I need to focus on rebuilding my marriage, Mandy grimly admitted to Dana. You were right, I messed up. I knew it was wrong, but I kept going anyway. I want to put the blame on you, but the truth is that the blame lies solely on me. I didn't have the courage to insist that you stay away from Matt. Now, I have to face the consequences. I need to go away to think about how I can earn forgiveness. Beth asked her mom, "What's your plan now?" Aunt Dana made it out unscathed, and you're in a tight spot. You understand Dad better than Trent and I do, and we know it's best not to fool him. You're right, Beth. My only hope now is that your father has forgiven me in the past. He has a generous heart and family means everything to him, Mandy affirmed. All I can think about is begging Tim to forgive me. I was completely wrong. It won't happen again if he can forgive me this time. It might help, especially Mom, if you put on that yellow sundress that accentuates your figure so well. It makes Daddy uncomfortable when he sees you in it, Beth said while Mandy grinned. When I talk to Mom, I call it embarrassing, Beth replied, smiling back. When I see guys looking at me or my girlfriends, the way Dad looks at you, I call it, "Oh, you think Tim still looks at me like that after all these years?" Mandy asked. You're catching compliments now, Mom. You know how Daddy feels about you. He would do anything for you as long as he thinks you feel the same way about him, said Beth. The next day, Tim drove up to the house. He felt depressed and slightly hungover. Taking a deep breath, he headed for the front door. He thought a lot about his situation. Mandy wasn't going to criticize him and paint him as a villain. He had a questionnaire with him that he had found on the internet and printed out. Mandy could threaten him endlessly, but it wouldn't change anything. She deceived him and their children without glossing over it to sugarcoat the situation. Beth greeted him at the door, grabbed her coat and headed for the closet. How was your day, Dad? You look a little worn out. Are you all right? Not really, sweetie, Tim replied. I'm not sure what you heard, but I doubt it's true. I need to talk to your mother alone. We're at a critical point. I've heard all about it, Beth said. Mom asked me to take you into the living room, sit you in a chair, and bring you a cold beer. Trent is already here, and I'll join you with a drink shortly." "I don't need a drink," Tim objected. "And I don't need an audience. I just need to talk to your mother alone. It's best if you kids don't hear our conversation." "You're wrong, Dad. Here's your beer," Beth insisted. Mom wanted Trent and me to witness everything. She was very adamant. "What makes her think I'd hurt her or anything? You both know I would never hurt your mother. It would be better if you went to visit friends or something," he stated as Mandy entered the room. "Tim, I want our children to be present and attentive to what I'm about to say. They need to understand the consequences of misguided loyalty and stubbornness," she objected. "So, you think I'm being stubborn? Do you believe that Will's support in doing the right thing caused all of our problems? Maybe these divorce papers I prepared will show you how serious I am," Tim said. "I didn't want the kids here, but you're the one who insisted I prepare the papers for you to sign. I believe you would be fair if divorce was our only option. However, I have an alternative solution," Mandy offered. "I advise you to review them and consult a lawyer. I was very angry when I filled them out, so they may have been biased." Mandy brushed aside his concern. "The contents of those documents don't matter. Tim, I know you. I'm sure you'll always be honest with me. I'm not concerned about any settlement." Mandy walked over to the chair where Tim was sitting and knelt down in front of him. "I wanted Trent and Beth here because they deserve an apology almost as much as you do," she began. "I was completely wrong, Tim. I lied to all three of them, at breakfast yesterday and several other times before. I thought I was helping my sister, but now I realize I was wrong. By not being honest and standing up for what I knew was right, I only made things worse," Mandy continued. "I wish I could make things right, but I realize that I will have to accept my mistake and live with it." Tim listened to Mandy sitting on her knees in front of him. Despite his inner turmoil, he couldn't help but notice that she was wearing the yellow sundress he adored so much. As she leaned forward, her emphasized cleavage captivated his gaze, even after nearly 2 decades of marriage. She remained a cherished vision for him. "I beg your forgiveness, Tim," Mandy pleaded. "If you could find it in your heart to forgive me, I hope the children will follow your example. I was wrong and I admit it. I promise to do my best to never let you down again. I offer you my love and the utmost respect. I will accept your decision without protest," she continued. "I lost my way for a moment, but now I am ready to get back on the right path. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me and rediscover your love for me?" Tim looked at Mandy for a long moment before answering. "You've hurt me deeply, Mandy. I never thought you were capable of such deception, especially so convincingly. Trust is the foundation of our marriage, and without it, I can't go on. I firmly believe that our marriage should be built on respect and unwavering trust. There is no golden mean. Being trustworthy only sometimes is unacceptable to me. That's why your misguided attempts to support Dana have caused such pain, and consequently, I've been hurt too." Mandy said sincerely, "I'm afraid I don't have your moral clarity, Tim. While I strive to be better, I admit that I need to improve my logical reasoning and not hesitate to tell you the truth every time I speak. I ask that you give me a chance to demonstrate how sincerely I love my husband and children. I will always speak the truth." "Mandy, you were in a difficult situation and hesitated. You chose the path of least resistance, only to realize it wasn't that easy. How can I trust you after this recent failure?" Tim hesitated. "I'm asking you to trust someone who has been dishonest in the past. It's complicated, Tim, I understand. I'm asking you to realize that I may not have strict principles like you, but that doesn't mean I lack loyalty or respect. I'm just a man in love with someone with strong morals," she continued. "Dad, just take a good look at Mom," Beth interjected. "Look at her. I think you see what Trent and I see. Mom wants to stay married and be a part of this family. Trent and I want that too. Doesn't she look stunning in that dress? She's your wife, and she's beautiful. Maybe it's time to talk to her alone." Tim now shifted his gaze from Mandy to his 2 children, who were smiling as they contemplated the possibility of forgiveness. Will had been able to forgive Dana. Could he give Mandy another chance? He noticed her licking her lips nervously. Tim also noticed that the top 2 buttons on her sundress had come undone, exposing much of her cleavage. "Do you think I should forgive?" Tim asked, turning to the children. "Mandy still has a long way to go to regain my trust," he added. "You're strict, Dad, "But you're also a man who can forgive," remarked Trent. "Mom said it would be okay if you accepted her apology. I think the potential benefits of forgiveness outweigh the risks. Don't you?" Trent continued. Tim smirked upon hearing Trent's words. He looked directly at his wife. Tim and the kids laughed as Mandy blushed and nodded in agreement.
Thank you so much for watching my video and your time. Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button. Also, I am very interested to know your personal opinion about this story. You can write it in the comments. I will definitely read it and reply to you personally.